And Jacksonville was up in Buffalo. Tavian Banks, the third guy to start at running back for them this season, got them off to a good start and a 7-0 lead. But Doug Flutie was in at quarterback for Buffalo. A little CFL stuff there as he passes to Jay Reersma and then throws the block for him. Flutie hitting Eric Moulds for 12 yards and the tying touchdown in the second quarter. Eric Moulds starting to be the go-to guy for Buffalo receiving-wise. Antoine Smith fumbles. Tony Brackens picks it up for the Jags, and Brackens pitches it back to Aaron Beasley, and Beasley tacks another 30 yards or so onto the fumble recovery with some nice running. That meant the old reliable Thurman Thomas got to do a bit more running for the Bills. Thurman picking up 9 yards there, up the middle, setting up Doug Flutie to hit Eric Moulds again for 38 yards. With time running out in the fourth quarter. Moulds thought he had the touchdown, but his knees go down before he gets into the end zone. And now Flutie, he got signals crossed with Thurman Thomas, but Flutie takes it in by himself. Buffalo beats Jacksonville 17-16. Flutie's only problem at 5'9" is he can't jump into the stands. Jacksonville lose their undefeated record and go to 5-1, and Buffalo even up at 3-3. Now, the Washington Redskins were in the familiar position of punting the ball away at the start of their game against undefeated Minnesota, but the ball hits rookie Randy Moss in the back of the leg, and Antoine Pons recovers it, giving the Redskins first and goal at the 2, and it didn't take long for Terry Allen to give the Redskins an unaccustomed first quarter lead. They led 7-0. But that was not to last long. Randall Cunningham got down to business for the Vikings, hit Andrew Glover with an 11-yard touchdown pass, and that tied it up at 7. Leroy Horde then gave Minnesota a 14-7 lead with a 1-yard touchdown run. And with 14 seconds to go in the first half, Cunningham hit Chris Carter 1 yard, but a great 1 yard. Look at that catch. 21-7, the halftime score. Gus Farrar quarterbacked Washington in place of Trent Green. There wasn't much change for the Skins. Fuller getting the interception there. That led to Robert Smith with a 19-yard touchdown run. That made it 31-7. Norv Turner said this was as poor a performance as I've ever been involved with. And of course, Norm's been involved with a lot of those lately. Cunningham and Smith, 2 more great games. Now, around the rest of the league, the Packers went to Detroit and got beat 27-20 as Barry Sanders had another big day, as did Charlie Batch. The Giants got into form. Danny Cannell looked like an all-pro as they crushed Arizona 34-7. Pittsburgh had just enough offense to beat Baltimore 16-6. The Ravens had none at all. Tampa had to rally to beat Carolina 16-13. Oilers had an easy time with the Bengals, 44-14. And the Bears beat the Cowboys 13-12 on a last-second field goal by Jeff Jager, which makes the NFC East interesting. San Francisco had to rally twice to beat the Colts. That was almost a big upset. Atlanta beat the Saints. It was easier than it looks. June Jones's first game with the Chargers. They beat the Eagles at home. That doesn't make him Vince Lombardi. And the Dolphins got their second shutout of the season, beating the Rams 14-0.
Now, of course, our game is just around. Okay, as we promised before.
And this one actually played on Thursday in the Silver Dome, and Green Bay got off to a great start as Antonio Freeman went 67 yards on a pass from Brett Favre just 4.5 minutes into the game. But Detroit got right back in the second quarter. Pete Kripowitz on the pass from Charlie Batch, and it was tied at the half. Now with Green Bay in the lead, 13-10, a great catch by Jermaine Crowell, 68 yards from Charlie Batch. That gave the lead to Detroit, and it wasn't much longer before Barry Sanders sealed it for the Lions, going on the draw, 73 yards for the touchdown. That made it 27-13. Brett Favre was intercepted 3 times by the Lions. That's the 3rd straight game where Favre has thrown 3 interceptions. He hit Antonio Freeman for another touchdown, 14 yards with just 3 seconds left in the game. Too little, too late. Green Bay take the loss and drop to 4-2. Detroit get the win. A good game for Charlie Batch, 16 for 19.
Oh, we see them.
And on Sunday, the Giants against Arizona. Danny Cannell in great form for a change. Hits Ike Hilliard and then Charles Way for the touchdown on a 1-yard touchdown. Jake Plummer getting sacked by Michael Strahan here. Jake Plummer getting sacked by Marcus Buckley here. There was a pattern to this. Jake Plummer goes back to pass and gets sacked by Robert Harris. Harris had 3 sacks on the game. The Giants had 9 for the game. Jake Plummer in a lot of trouble. Gary Brown, the former Charger, taking it in from the 1-yard line in the second quarter to put the Giants up 14-0. And then in the third quarter, with the Giants leading 20-7, a short pass to Chris Callaway. Callaway takes it 19 yards for the touchdown. Jake Plummer, the 9 sacks, the key stats there. But look at Danny Cannell. Those are Super Bowl kind of numbers from a guy who basically has been having, well, shall we say, toilet bowl numbers so far this season.
Yeah, and of course the highlights are going to keep rolling as this game goes along. And I must say, Mike, this is good as Monday night.
And the AFC Central matchup between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh having all kinds of offensive problems, but you wouldn't know it from this one. Courtney Hawkins taking a 44-yard pass from Cordell Stewart. And let's take another look, because watch Rod Woodson, the former Steeler, right through his hands, just like Pepper Johnson to Ben Coates. A little present for Courtney Hawkins from a former Steeler. Stewart then found Charles Johnson, 55 yards, giving them a 10-6 lead. But don't get the wrong idea, because Stewart's passing was basically off, apart from those 2 big ones. Eric Zier's passing was off as well. Dwayne Washington picking him off there, giving good field position to the Steelers. But then Stewart came right back, and he threw an interception to Dwayne Starks. Zier was banged up a little, and Jim Harbaugh came in relief of him. Guess what Jim Harbaugh did? Well, he found Carnell Lake for an interception. That was one of 2 that Harbaugh threw. In his brief time in, Zier eventually came back to replace him. Now Cordell Stewart again hitting Courtney Hawkins. This one went for 27 to set up the first of 2 Norm Johnson field goals. And with the score 16-6, needing a big play, Jermaine Lewis taking the kickoff. He fumbles. Pittsburgh recovers, and that's basically all she wrote for the game. 16-6, the final score. Zier with a pretty tough night. Harbaugh with another disastrous one, 0 for 6. And Cordell, 12 for 27. Tony Dungy was looking at the Carolina Panthers for Tampa Bay, and it was the Panthers who got on the board first in the second quarter on a 53-yard field goal by John Casey. Tampa evened it up. Carolina went ahead 6-3, and then Trent Dilfer was picked off by Doug Evans. Dilfer off to a horrible start in this game. Evans' pick set things up for Steve Berline. He hits Wesley Walls, the tight end. Goes 27 yards right down to the 1-yard line. And then it was up to Fred Lane to take it in for the Panthers and give them a 13-3 lead. They kept that 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Warwick Dunn taking it down to the goal line, having his hat knocked off. And then Trent Dilfer taking it in on the naked bootleg himself. That made it 13-10, and Dilfer was starting to get going at this point. Now with 1:47 left, Dilfer back to pass. He finds Carl the Truth Williams for 29 yards and the touchdown. Michael Houston missed the extra point. That gave Carolina a chance to tie, but John Casey missed a 47-yard field goal with just 5 seconds left in that game, or else Carolina would have sent it into overtime. And back in the AFC Central, Tennessee against Cincinnati. Steve Air McNair, well, he wasn't the man in the air. It was Mike Archie, the halfback, throwing to Jackie Harris, 18 yards for a touchdown, giving Tennessee an early lead. It was a lead that they built on with the score 10-0. McNair hits Kevin Dyson, the rookie wide receiver. Both their starting wide receivers out with injury. McNair, when he couldn't find a receiver, scrambling, getting into position, and then going in 1 yard for the touchdown. That made it 17-0. Neil O'Donnell, meanwhile, was having his trouble. He's sacked by Darrell Lewis, and Joe Bowden picks up the ball, takes it in for a touchdown. O'Donnell was sacked 3 times and lost that fumble. The final score there was 44-14. Nothing in the air for O'Donnell. Corey Dillon had a good game on the ground, but Eddie George did as well for the... And Dave Wanstead against the team that he was the defensive coordinator for. Chicago against Dallas. Jason Garrett still at quarterback for the Cowboys. Hits Michael Irvin for 15. But nothing came out of that. Then Edgar Bennett for the Bears fumbles the ball away. Randall Godfrey recovers for Dallas. And Garrett to Irvin, but the ball is stripped away by Walt Harris. No touchdown, incomplete pass. Watch this play by Harris. Irvin never has possession. Harris takes it away, but steps out of bounds, so he doesn't get the interception. They settled for a Richie Cunningham field goal, the first of two, and it was 6-0 to Dallas. Then Bobby Ingram from Eric Kramer, setting them up for Chris Penn to take a 13-yard great catch for a touchdown. Now Garrett to David LaFleur, and that put Dallas in the lead, 12-10, but the field goal from Jeff Jager is good, and the Bears win 13-12. Chris Penn, 5 catches in that game, and that puts Dallas. Steve Young and San Francisco were taking on Indianapolis. Young to Jerry Rice early in the game. This was the 183rd straight game for Jerry Rice with a catch. He ties Art Monk. Next game, he'll break the record. But it was Indianapolis who were getting on the board first. Marshall Faulk doing what he hasn't done in a long time. 65-yard run from scrimmage. First quarter, 7-0 lead for the Colts. And they soon made it 14-0 as Peyton Manning hit Marvin Harrison from 4 yards out. That's the way it ended at the end of the first quarter. Harrison all alone. Harrison then got a 6-yard pass to make it 21-0 in the second quarter. At 21-3, the Niners came back in the game as Young hit J.J. Stokes with the 3-yard touchdown. And then, with just 3 seconds left in the half, Terrell Owens took a 10-yard pass from Young, 21-17 at the half. Marvin Harrison, his third touchdown of the game, 61 yards from Manning in the third quarter. Indianapolis built the score up to 31-17 before Young got going again. Over the middle to Irv Smith, and then Young on the rollout. This looks a lot like Doug Flutie, except Young's a lot bigger. And Young goes in for the touchdown, and then Young looking for a receiver, doesn't find one on the scramble, 23 yards. In for the touchdown. They need 2 points to tie the game. They go for the 2-point conversion. Guess who he's going to look for? Jerry Rice. The 2-point conversion is good. And then Wade Ritchie, 24-yard field goal, 5 seconds left in the game. A 3-point win for the Niners. Indianapolis, their best performance of the season. New Orleans, Jamal Anderson on the ground for Atlanta. This was a matchup of the only two teams with winning, or the only matchup of two teams with winning records. Anderson goes in 31 yards for the touchdown and a 10-7 lead. Chris Chandler, he loves throwing to Tony Touchdown Martin, and there's another one for 45 yards. That made it 17-7. Touchdown Martin, and there's another one for 45 yards. That made it 17-7. And now a sack in the end zone. Steve DeBerg was in for Chandler in at quarterback. New Orleans nailed it down to 17-16, but Lamar Smith fumbled. Cornelius Bennett recovered. And then DeBerg, playing at quarterback, finds Bob Christian. Watch Christian on this run. Watch him breaking tackles. 1, 2, 3 guys. He drags him into the end zone. That put Atlanta up in the lead. But the best available Billy Joe Tolliver for the Saints, throws that one up. It's intercepted by Eugene Robinson. Eugene Robinson takes it in 25 yards. Tolliver had connected with Keith Poole for a 64-yard touchdown. Well, this one was even better. Poole's second TD went for 82 yards. But it wasn't enough in the end, and the final score, 23-31, Atlanta hanging on for the win. They go to 5-1. Chandler hopefully is back next week. Jamal Anderson, 132 on the ground. Billy Joe Tolliver, of course, he knows Kerry Collins is now lurking in the wings for New Orleans.
There you go, a couple of more games still to bring you during the course of the second half, and we're going into that second half now, and the Jets got themselves sneaked.
Terry with a short kick.
The last of yesterday's games, Miami and St. Louis. Dan Marino getting picked off at the beginning of the game by Billy Jenkins. Jenkins taking it up and giving St. Louis good field position, but St. Louis on offense was just hounded all day long by a swarming Miami defense. Zach Thomas and Robert Jones stuffed Robert Holcomb. Marino hitting Oronde Gadsden with a 1-yard touchdown. And then in the fourth quarter, Marino with a beautiful pass to rookie John Avery. That one put it away. 10 straight quarters at home for the Dolphins without allowing a point. Two shutouts in that time. A 14-0 win for Miami.